Hey guys, Chris with CKR. It's been a little while since we made a video, just because, well, been so busy selling solar. So it's an oldie and goodie. Obviously, the Tesla Powerwall 3 DC system. So we have 43 REC 450s, and even at this late stage of the year, tax credit ending, our friends at Solagent were able to hook us up and get us a shipment of the beautiful REC Pure RX. So some nice 450 watt modules. They come with a 25-year warranty. I'm not sure if you can see them up there on the roof, but a really beautiful system. And they're going into 2 Powerwall 3s. So great bit of resiliency there, battery backup. We have our gateway. Oh, and there's a pole in the ground, so be careful where you're walking. And then the master, Jeff, has installed these beautiful troughs here, keep everything nice and tidy. And so got our disconnect, and then we actually upgraded, thanks to Evolve Energy. They did an upgrade for us ahead of time, so we were able to call a shutdown with the utility and put a disconnect in, because most houses here in Florida, they're just a meter sitting outside and you have to call a shutdown. So if you're doing that, you might as well just install that main breaker outside. So we've taken care of all of that. Each one of these Powerwall 3s, everybody probably knows now, 11.5 kW of AC power output. And they're giving you 13.5 kilowatt hours of energy storage. And this is, we've done plenty of Powerwall systems, but this here is our latest offering, whole home surge protection. So these are some really badass whole home surge protection units. So obviously we're installing this great equipment, and we want to make sure that investment's protected. So for our whole home battery customers, we are now adding that in. And then of course, what everyone likes to see is how you manage that energy when the grid goes down. So our friends at Span, this is a Span 32, and this has replaced the old panel that the customer had. He had 150 amp service originally. Obviously, we've changed that out and upgraded it. And so, one of the drawbacks of some of these older homes is the electrical service, doesn't meet the needs of some of our more modern requirements, pool heaters, electric vehicles, and so on. So, Span does allow for that. It's got a 225 amp bus bar. It has the power up function. So it does actually allow you to get even more power. But more importantly, we did upgrade their service to 200 amp anyway. So it's more than sufficient now. And then obviously with the backup that we have, Span managing those loads. So again, when the grid goes down, it's going to shed some things like the pool heater, the electric water heater, so on. And then it's going to list some of those loads as critical, the internet, fridge, freezer, security system. Those are going to be always on. And then we're going to have some nice to have circuits. That's going to be, the air conditioner, some of those things that are nice to have, but in a long-term outage, you wouldn't want them to drain your batteries. And a lot of the systems installed without, things like the Span, these batteries would just deplete, and, you'd have to wait for them to turn on the next day. So having the Span managing your battery system is pretty phenomenal. So really happy with how this system turned out, keeping everything nice and clean, all against the wall, very safe. And yeah, fortunately, well, not fortunately, knew we were going to. We passed our inspection today, so we'll be submitting that to Duke Energy, and this customer will definitely be getting PTO for this beautiful solar system before the tax credit expires. So really happy. And then just as an added benefit, going to show you one of our other systems that we installed. Obviously, this is the neighbor, and they referred us over. And so we've done the same for them. Even though this is a new product, we've retrofitted our whole home surge protector because, when you find a product that, is going to serve someone in a really beneficial way, you want to make sure that you're thanking them for not only their business, but for their testimonial. And, obviously one neighbor talks to another, and uh, the power went out today and everyone came around asking how they still had power. Well, that's what happens when you have massive batteries on your wall, all managed by Span, backed by a huge solar system. So, well, thanks again for watching. Have a good night.